Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and the lovely introductions from Mark and Judy. And yeah.
We are so excited to talk about the Sunrise Movement today and what we do as high schoolers to combat the climate crisis.
So before we really dive into everything, we would like to take a moment to share our land acknowledgement. So we as Sunrise Blue Hills would like to acknowledge that the land that we are all living on today was stolen from Indigenous people all over the nation. Indigenous folks still face oppression and are disproportionately affected by the climate crisis, and that is why we are recognizing them here today. We are taking this moment to honor the strength and resilience of the Indigenous community. So Amber will now drop a link in the chat, and that is where you can find whose land that you are currently living on. Amber and I here in Sharon are currently on Wampanoag and Massachusetts stolen land.
Next, we would like to introduce ourselves. So my name is Amber Marcus Blank. Like Judy said, I got involved in Sunrise in September of 2019.
Alyssa is a
I
junior
learned about
at
it
Sharon
at the
High
September
School.
20th Boston climate strike, where I was told about a new chapter of Sunrise that was forming closer to me, Sunrise Blue Hills. And I signed up and went to the first meeting and have been a part of it ever since. I got interested in the climate crisis years ago when I learned where our planet was heading, and so I tried to adapt the way I lived by avoiding more plastic, taking shorter showers, stopping to waste much water, etc., and attending climate strikes. But I wanted to do more, so I joined Sunrise, and since have done so much for the climate crisis in so many different ways, in particular through politics. I'm the political lead for our hub, and in the past 5 months alone, I've learned so much about the government and how it correlates to the climate crisis, and the thought of a better future for our planet is what motivates me to keep working.
Thank you so much for sharing, Amber. So now I'd like to introduce myself. So again, my name is Elisa Van Dyke, and I joined our Sunrise Blue Hills Hub back in April. So what kind of motivated me to join was after the pandemic hit, I really just was sitting home alone all day. We had various assignments. It didn't feel like I was doing enough. And while I was watching everything happen with the news, I felt like I really needed to do more. So I decided to join the hub. And from there, it's just been amazing. It's been one of the greatest factors that have just given me a lot of hope. And I originally started caring about the climate when I was in elementary school. We were playing this video game made for our age, and it was kind of like a house challenge, reduce your carbon emissions. And then from that moment, I was like, oh my goodness, this is something that we need to work on. And then I was this strange kid in elementary school who took all of the discarded worksheets from the trash bin and put them into the recycling bin. And now I can finally channel that, I think, a little bit more productively with Sunrise. And that's really what brings me here today.
Thank you so much, Elisa. So what is Sunrise?
Sunrise is a movement of young people to prevent climate change and create millions of good jobs in the process. So essentially, we are building a group of young people to, number one, make climate change an urgent priority across America and end the corrupting influence of fossil fuel CEOs on our politics, and elect leaders who stand up for the health and well-being of all people.
Sunrise is a youth-led grassroots climate movement prioritizing our future by pushing for a Green New Deal, electing climate advocating champions into office, and educating people on the climate crisis. Sunrise is a national movement with over 400 hubs across America, and we are part of Sunrise Blue Hills, which is one chapter of the Sunrise movement. So, what is the Green New Deal? The Green New Deal is a vision to tackle the climate crisis through a just transition that leaves no one behind. That means that the Green New Deal is about creating jobs and centering the voice of frontline communities most impacted by climate change. It's a vision for a 10-year just transition created by Senator AOC and Senator Markey to achieve 100% clean and renewable energy by 2030. Some parts of the Green New Deal are that it guarantees living wage jobs with labor protections and retirement security to all members of society. It will secure clean air and water, a stable climate, healthy food, and access to nature. And lastly, the Green New Deal will promote equity by preventing and repairing historic oppression to vulnerable communities.
So here we have a short video that includes information on environmental justice. And this is something that we really like to share with people because this is one of the things that the Sunrise movement is fighting for. So if you see anything during the video that you especially resonate with or something you're excited about, please feel free to type a +sign and just drop it in the chat and share it with everyone. Let them know how you're feeling. And then if you have any comments or anything, please feel free to drop them all in the chat. That was an incredible video. I think that it is so important to recognize that environmental justice isn't just this whole separate idea of saving the earth or making sure that we use less electricity and blah, 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 blah. I think that everything is related, and it's very important to recognize that. And I think this video does a great way of explaining. And I loved watching all of the little comments in the chat. I thought that was amazing. So I guess we'll just move on to the next slide while Amber is trying to rejoin. So we talked a lot about what Sunrise is on a national level, but now we'd like to reflect and what does this look like locally? So what is Sunrise Blue Hills? So basically, we are a chapter of the Sunrise National Movement. We have members from all over the Blue Hills region, and we're always looking to grow. So our hub is run through 5 teams currently, and those teams are political, art actions, communications, community outreach, and fundraising. And these teams keep our hub organized and running smoothly. You can go to the next slide. Wonderful.
So, who are we and what are we doing? These are 2 great questions that are asked of what Sunrise Blue Hills is and what are we doing? So we are activists, intersectional activists, fighting for social, environmental, economic, and political justice. We are youth from all walks of the earth working together for a safe, sustainable future, especially through creating spaces and opportunities for Black, Indigenous people of color. What are we doing? Right now, Sunrise Blue Hills celebrated its 1st anniversary on September 25th, which was outstanding. We have been and will continue to campaign for Green New Deal, and we are planning and organizing COVID-safe actions, all this time while growing our.
So here are some examples of events, actions, strikes that we've either helped coordinate or attended. So we attended the September 20th Boston climate strike, which was just an amazing experience for everyone. And we actually helped organize a rally and organized the Boston climate strike, which also I was not able to go, but I also heard that it was an amazing experience. And we've attended national trainings in Philadelphia and DC.
And more than that, we've And we've had incredible events all throughout Earth Week, including launch parties, a town hall with Jared Rose, who was a candidate who ran for state senate in Massachusetts. We have organized a banner drop and chalk event for the Sharon Black Lives Matter rally, as shown in the picture on the left. We've endorsed and campaigned for 4 climate advocates, including re-electing U.S. Senator Ed Markey in the September 1st primary, and participated in Our Future, Our Justice. One of the teams in our hub is the political team, and we have done a lot over the last couple months leading up to the September 1st primary and are continuing for the election on November 3rd. Some important actions that we have participated in and organized are co-sponsoring a congressional candidate forum event for Massachusetts District 4 in April. We endorsed Ed Markey, done on the national level of Sunrise, which means that every Sunrise hub had endorsed Ed Markey and worked to get him reelected, which is part of the reason why he did so well. We endorsed Jared Rose for Massachusetts State Senate, Robbie Goldstein for Massachusetts District 8 U.S. Congress, endorsed Andrew Flowers for Massachusetts State Representative, and the campaigning process for all of these, despite the fact that we are all high schoolers or college students, most unable to vote because we're under 18, we did not stop because we knew that our impact could still change the vote. We could change so much. And so we campaigned all summer, phone banks, tech banks, sign holding events, rallies. It was truly incredible. And we even did a Facebook Live webinar with candidate Andrew Flowers. And on election day, we did not stop either. We campaigned the entire day doing sign holding at all the polls at Cobb's Corner intersection. As you can see in that picture, it's a picture of some members of Sunrise Blue Hills with Robbie Goldstein while we did some sign holding in the Cobb's Corner intersection. And it's truly incredible. We're actually continuing to do a lot of work on getting out the vote, sending postcards, and it's great.
So next, we would like to go into a little bit of detail about another recent event that we've had, just to give you an idea of some of the things that we do in our Sunrise Hub. But I helped organize this event. It was called Our Future, Our Justice, and it was in response to the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett. And we felt very strongly that this nomination would negatively affect women's reproductive rights and any advocacy in the Supreme Court for the Affordable Health Care Act, which is something that we find super important. So this was a really powerful event, at least for me, because we organized it in almost 24 hours, a little bit more than that, and it was crazy. Though I can say from a high schooler's perspective, I did have to put everything else on the line and everything else on hold to set up this event and help organize and do all of this. It's very strange because I'll be going to a climate justice rally and be calling for our democracy and calling for the end of fossil fuels, and then go back home, sit in my room, and study for the algebra test that I have next morning. So it's really interesting to kind of be making all these huge demands and working towards these amazing goals for my future. And then I also have to think for my future, oh my goodness, I need to, I have college testing soon and all of this. So it's very interesting from that perspective. There's a lot of responsibility when you're organizing as a teenager, but it is most definitely worth it.
Next, we want to show a second video. It's an amazing video about the Sunrise Movement and everything we've done in the last year. We found this inspiring and absolute incredible example of some of the great things that we can do. And if you feel anything, positive thoughts, something really resonates with you, drop a plus in the chat, exactly how we did for the other video. And yeah.
Thank you all of the activists at Sunrise. We must be as ambitious as possible.
I've been doing this for 30 years.
The government is supposed to be putting people and by the people.
We will address the catastrophic crisis of climate change.
I'm asking for something simple, a climate debate.
You, other members of the Sunrise Movement, who have forced those in positions of power to do the right thing and to address these issues.
I think it would look like creating meaningful and dignified work in service to preparing and caring for America.
Yeah, that was an amazing video. It showed all the work we've been doing, AOC, Ed Markey, Bernie Sanders, all of these incredible climate advocating politicians that are also fighting for the Green New Deal and all these important causes. So next, let's talk about how you can get involved. Tomorrow, I have an orientation meeting for Sunrise Blue Hills. It's at 5 p.m. And if you're available, I really encourage you to go. You can RSVP in the link in the chat, and you can learn more about Sunrise Blue Hills, Sunrise as a whole, learn how you can get involved and just get a better understanding. And it's a really cool opportunity, so I highly encourage you message us and try to get there. However, if you cannot make it to the call tomorrow, please fill out the Sunrise interest form. That way, when we have our next orientation meeting, we can reach out to you and let you know if you're still interested. You can come to that. It's another great opportunity.
And if you are not interested in joining our hub specifically, which is perfectly okay as well, or you just don't have the time, but still want to be involved with Sunrise on a national scale, we have this link that will be sent, but from that link you can go and sign up for our mailing list, well, Sunrise National's mailing list, and you'll get monthly updates filled with opportunities, calls, events, action trainings, all of these super great resources that Sunrise National provides to share what they're working on. So I would highly recommend signing up for the newsletter. It is very much worth it. And if you don't want to do that, but still also are not super interested in joining our hub, there's also a whole campaign that is being put on by Sunrise National, again, called the Victory Squad. And it's only a 2-hour commitment made for folks who are new to Sunrise or have no experience at all. But it is happening until the election, and its focus is to promote voter turnout and elect politicians that will bring us forward and advocate for the climate and all of these Green New Deal champions that we hold so dearly to our hearts. But yeah, so those are two other great opportunities for you all.
And although Sunrise is a youth-led movement, generally members are under 35, adult allies are absolutely crucial to the work we do as young people because we are mostly high school students and we're doing more than is expected of our age because the climate crisis is going to impact our lives in the present and the future, and we need to act. But we can't do it alone, and we need the support of adult allies to help us achieve our goals. So you may not be as young as us, but you are absolutely just as crucial to this work and this movement than we are. And if you felt compelled at all during this presentation that this was meaningful, it resonated with you, you thought it was an important cause, please join us in this fight and this movement because we have to work together to get through it and prevent the climate crisis.
Okay, so our second to last slide is just information on how you can stay connected, follow us through social media, because it is a super useful platform these days, especially when in-person events are a risk to almost everyone. And social media is a great way to get the word out for events, and we actively update it, and I would highly recommend following if you want to keep in touch and stay connected. So we'll leave this slide on, so if you want to jot down the name of an account or go and follow it right now, you may certainly do so.
Great. So thank you so much for your inspiring presentation. That is just great to hear how much you guys are doing and in such a short amount of time. So now we're opening up for questions. Please put your questions in the chat. Our first question is from Mark Smith. What other high schools in the Blue Hills areas are involved in the Sunrise movement?
Okay, so actually right now, most of our hub's members are located in Sharon. So I can right off the bat say Sharon High School, definitely. And we also have a few members from Quincy High School in Quincy. And we have a member located in Randolph, so that area as well. And because we're only a year old, we're still reaching out to more towns and such, and we are hoping to get more high schoolers involved. Yeah, so we're constantly growing, constantly moving, hopefully almost every high school in the Blue Hills area, but as of right now, mostly Sharon and Quincy, I can say.
And one of the most important things to us as a hub is really growing the hub, especially diversifying from towns in Blue Hills. And that's something we're really working on. And hopefully we get a lot more members from a lot more towns.
Great. So if anyone else has a question, please put it in the chat. We're getting a lot of positive response, inspiring. Great job, guys. Amazing presentation. Does anyone else have questions that you want to put in the chat for Amber and Alyssa? Rachel says, Amber and Alyssa, this was a fantastic presentation. Your advocacy is truly inspiring, and thank you for sharing. And I think that was echoed by other people in the chat. So it looks like that's so, I think people are just, oh, here is a question. So Patrick says, thanks so much. As a teacher, I was struck by your observation that this work feels very different from your work at school. Have you found opportunities in your classes to incorporate this work? And if not, are there particular things you wish your teachers would do to provide those opportunities?
That is an amazing question. Actually, that just is so hopeful to me. It's so great to hear that teachers are interested in providing opportunities for people to think about our climate this way. Have I found opportunities in my classes to incorporate this work? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. For example, I think it also depends on the topic. So in science, if we're learning about climate change, maybe we'll be assigned something regarding that, and I would of course write something that is very critical of what's happening. And most of the time, though, I can say that the answer is no. I don't think that it is something that people talk about a lot during school, especially in Sharon. It's pretty competitive, and most of the pressure is on just like doing well in general. I don't think it is something that is really talked about a lot, even in the first place. Like, a lot of people deny the fact that we are in a climate crisis, so sometimes it is difficult to bring that up and expect that of teachers in the first place, because it is not something that is talked about a lot. Hope that is right now changing, of course, but based on what I remember, yes. And then for part 2 of the question, Amber, do you want to share something?
Yeah, well, even just adding on to that, I feel like teachers don't give that many opportunities, but classes such as a class I took last year, creative writing, it gave me more opportunity and to talk about what I wanted to talk about, and that gave me the opportunity to discuss the urgency of climate change and the climate crisis. And are there particular things you wish your teachers would do to provide those opportunities? I think that a really important thing is just for everyone to know what's happening. Like Elisa said, there's some people that don't believe in climate change, but there's also a group of people that are sort of passive activists, not even activists, where they're aware that there is a climate crisis, but they don't know enough about it to either want to do anything or think it's urgent or important enough to spend their time doing that. So I think if there was a way that in school we could learn about the actual facts of the crisis, the fact that if we don't act now in 10 to 12 years, if we don't have a plan that's going to be implemented soon, things could go very, very wrong very quickly. And I think that's something a lot of people don't know. And if teachers could add that to history lessons or English, having us write something about that. Science, it is science. We could learn about it there. I think that would be interesting. And that's what we're working on, getting more people to understand what this is and why it's important.
And while Amber was talking, I just thought of one thing that I wanted to add. But I've had teachers in the past do current events section. So either talk about current events for the first 10 minutes of class or something, and then maybe the teacher could come up with ideas like, oh, let's talk about climate change, or what have you seen in the news recently, or events like that. Or you could assign papers. Maybe someone writes a paragraph about something that they see that's happening. Just opportunities like that for people to share what they think, I think is helpful. You can go on to the next question.
Great. So we're getting a few more. Matt Panucci says, would you like contacts at different high schools in the areas? He has 2 kids at Milton High School, and there are clubs that are very well aligned with your mission that may want to join.
Absolutely. Yes. That would be outstanding. Anyone that knows or is a part of a club or an environmental group and is interesting, we would absolutely love them to come to an orientation meeting, reach out to us on any of our social medias, email us. That would be outstanding.
So along those lines, you had said that you're looking for adult allies. What are some of the ways that adults can support your work?
I think that so here's the thing. We have never really had an active adult presence, at least during these times, where it's been through Zoom meetings. So I'm not sure if we have a standard protocol right now, but I think if one of our hub coordinators wants to step in, I know one is on this call, I don't know, or one or two who can add, because I have not been a part of the hub long enough, I think, to say that I have experience with collaborating with adult allies at this point.
Just really quickly, we used to have quite a few adult allies. In fact, a lot of our in-person meetings from September to March, we certainly had some adults just coming and being part of things. We definitely have allies at the Unitarian Church in Sharon Center, and something they do is they let us use their space for our hub meetings, or at least they did before the pandemic and these trying times. But yeah, I definitely welcome Frida or Grace, our hub coordinators, to speak if they have anything to add on that note.
So I just, you can unmute yourself if you have something to add, hopefully.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm a hub coordinator of Sunrise Blue Hills. So we had adult allies at the Church of Sharon. Adult allies mostly like show up at our actions as marshals. They provide like monetary aid, as we're all high schoolers who do not have as much money to actually sustain a hub. They also like support us in like finding out legal aid with our actions as well, figuring out like the nitty gritty stuff, like the behind the scenes stuff that you can't really do as a teenager, like the fundraising aspect, showing up at our actions, as I said before. When we're in person, like providing a space for us, like we're planning on having an action on Monday, and the U Church is providing a space for us to do our action there. So stuff like that is kind of like what the adult allies, and they just show up every time that we ask for something. They just are there and ready to pitch in and help us in the time of need. Hopefully that was helpful.
That was awesome. Thank you. So I'll go back to everyone else's questions. How do you stay hopeful and persistent in times of adversity? That's Frida. Well, that's you. Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Frida. One thing is, though we spent a lot of time today talking about how urgent and how hard it can get, what's so great about the Sunrise Movement is it's a whole community in itself. It is teenagers and high schoolers, college students, anyone that's young coming together all over the nation and fighting for justice. And so it's really great to have that sense of a community while fighting for something that can get really hard to fight for and hard to stay positive about. But also the fact that we are making change. Years ago, in a presidential or vice presidential debate, they might not have asked the question of, how do you feel about climate change? Do you think climate change is an existential threat? And something Sunrise done and every other environmental movement has done in the past years is made it more of an active issue and made more people aware of it, to the point where that question is being asked. And so we can see things that are happening. We can see improvements, and that's what helps me personally stay hopeful and keeps me fighting for this, because if we keep going for it, we're actually making change, and that's what's so like incredible about this.
It's a great response. Rachel asks, how do you balance activism with other activities and aspects of your life?
That is a wonderful question, and I think my parents are very happy to hear that. I do tend to put activism before cleaning my room. So, sorry, but that is one way that I probably should balance it a little bit more. Perhaps, I mean, maybe not actually. Anyway, moving on. I would like to say that I balance activism with other activities. Well, typically I do my best to keep what I'm doing. Well, I assign myself days, kind of. So I will tell myself, Elisa, today you're going to work on this, and maybe check in with these hub members that day. And then the next day do the same. And then, oh, Wednesday you have extra time. Okay, then I can spend another hour and I can maybe help in another team that I'm involved in, or go to this call. But it's really easy to overload myself with calls because they're they are constantly happening, which I'm very happy about, but I also feel like I want to do as much as I can while also maintaining a family life, a academic life, and a lot of other things.
I think that's a tension we all feel. Sounds like you're doing a pretty good job of it. So Andrea asks, have you connected or collaborated in your actions with local chapters in the greater Boston area? If so, how has that been impactful?
Yeah, we've done quite a bit with different actions and climate organizations. For one, Sunrise Boston is another Sunrise Hub that we've certainly done a lot with. I know as the political team lead, we've certainly collaborated with them for different movements within Sunrise, which has been really great, especially because they are a much more founded hub. They have many more members, and it's really great to have an older hub to help us out. But there have been other organizations as well. I know that for the congressional candidate forum that I mentioned that we had back in April, we were co-sponsors of that event with Sunrise Boston, but the event was led by the Environmental League of Massachusetts. And it's really incredible when we can work with different organizations and chapters, because you learn a lot about different groups and different perspectives. And I think that's something that this lecture series is doing as well. This lecture is more about youth activism, but there might be some about climate science and the Green New Deal. And it's cool to have those different perspectives. But Elisa, if you wanted to add anything.
Yes, I would actually like to add two things. So I love collaborating with other chapters because it's nice to work within your group, but when you see other people that feel the same way that you do and they have another name or are working with another people, it's great to form connections with different populations and different places and just see how we all bond over this common goal and this one thing that we all feel like need to be changed. And I think that's super powerful, and it has been very impactful. I mean, even collaborating with Quincy for Transformative Change, we're gaining new members there. We're getting more people to know about Sunrise Blue Hills, growing our hub, increasing action participation, and so much more. It's really an amazing experience, and I'm very thankful.
So wonderful. So we're going to wrap up the questions, but I just want to add two more comments because I think we all agree. Maya says, thank you so much. Great presentation. I'm very impressed by your work. And Alexis says, thank you so much. Same thing. Amazing job. So I'm just going to reiterate what they said. Awesome. Thank you so much for kind of sharing your experiences and inspiring all of us. Mark, do you want to close out? I love that Amber already kind of gave a plug for the rest of the series. Thank you, Amber. Sure. That was awesome.
Elisa and Amber, I'm so inspired, and I feel like I can go to bed tonight with some feelings of assurance that we're in good hands with this next generation of climate activists. So I'm inspired. I'm animated by what you said, and looking for ways to be maybe an adult. What do you call them? Liaisons or supporters or whatever. But again, thank you for being with us tonight and kicking off our series. I want to just say that the next presentation in this series is coming up at the end of October, on October 29th. Rebecca Hurst, who is the director of the Sustainable Solutions Lab at UMass Boston, is going to talk about the intersection of the climate justice movement and the COVID-19 pandemic. Lots of lessons to be learned and shared. And I want to stress just that presentation is at 4:30 in the afternoon. It's the only lecturer in the series that's happening at 4:30 and not 6:30. So if you can join us, please do, October 29th, 4:30. And then hopefully you'll go to any of the Facebook pages of the co-sponsors or to the website of the Blue Hills Climate Action Coalition, which is bluehillsclimateaction.org, for a full lineup of the speakers that will take us into actually the beginning of January. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. It's great to see so many people. And again, thank you to our presenters, Elisa and Amber. You did a wonderful job. And with that, I bid you all a good night.